Bruv, I got a question for you. We're looking at the 11 for the Three Lions.
Yeah.
How many players have cemented their spot as a starter in this 11?
I'll say there's. You want the names?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Or you just want who? You want the names? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. You probably say Pickford. Jordan Pickford probably plays. John Stones and Harry Maguire probably start. If there's a back three, I would say Kyle Walker.
Okay.
I think if Ben Chilwell's back to his best, the form that he was before he's injured, I think he starts right side, left side. I think the hardest one is the Trent Reece James selection. I think that would be dependent on the opposition and how he wants to play. I think Declan Rice.
Okay, so talk to me about.
I think.
Well, no, I just want to jump in about the center backs before.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious if you're going to go with the back three, because we saw Kyle Walker, Maguire, and Stones.
Harry Maguire.
But Harry Maguire is a team. He's become a bit of a meme, to be honest, where we think that's a spot where we can attack him. Now, obviously, he's going to have a run up to, you said, about current form. He might just have a blistering start with Manchester United under Eric Ten Hag, and all those jokes will kind of go away. And he's proven his worth with the Three Lions and that he can do the job. But it still feels like there's some vulnerabilities in that back line. I mean, would you go with the back three? Would you go with the back four and make Trent or a Reece or Ben Chilwell the wing backs and maybe sacrifice a spot somewhere else? Or is it dependent on the opponent against the Iran, or
I think
Wales?
It's all them factors. Yeah, I think all them factors have to be considered, like who you're playing. Like if you're playing against the USA, let's say, for instance, who are your most attacking? Where's your vulnerabilities, which may enhance the decision based on that. So if it's you're strong up front, then we may need to go back four. But if you're weak in certain areas, then we're thinking, well, we can expose that, and we need to expose that with.
So what you're saying is you're going to play a back three, is what you're saying.
I don't know, but that's what they tend to play. They tend to play that in the summer, so I can't imagine it being too far from where he's going to select his formation. The personnel, again, it's a hard one. But if you're going on history, then like you said, Harry Maguire's club form wasn't great, but his England form has been outstanding.
Let's talk a little bit about the reputation of at least in your perspective, the U.S. national team. Obviously, our U19s get a 2-1 win over England U19s recently, and while it doesn't stand for much, is there a perception change? I know the media calls every World Cup an easy group for England, but in terms of the players that are coming up through the system, has the respect for the American player changed at all? Is there any sort of concern about the U.S. or anybody else in that group for that matter, or does England sort of see themselves pretty far separated and that it's just would be down to bad performances where they would lose in the group stage?
No. Listen, I think if you're expect to win a tournament, you've got to go into the group stage believing you can beat all the teams. And that's not being disrespectful. Obviously, we know over recent years, USA have become stronger with more talent. Maybe not a stronger team, but definitely a lot more talent that's recognizable throughout Europe, which is good for obviously your national team. But I don't think England will be fearing anyone in the groups, especially. And again, that's no disrespect. You can't be one of the favourites believing you can win the tournament and then be fearing any team in the group stage.
I don't think anyone would expect England to be fearing the US. If anything, overlooking the US, and that would play to an advantage for the US if maybe they say, hey, US gets a draw in the first game, heading into the second game, maybe England had a thumping 4-0 win over Iran. They come into the US game, maybe they take their foot off the gas a little bit. That would be the hope, right? If you're an American.
I think it's more hope, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think the way tournaments go now, like when we're talking about best 11s, it doesn't stay that way. I think in previous tournaments for whatever nation, there hasn't been any rotation. It's like the team plays, you get your first 2 wins, and then all of a sudden, do you want to change that and lose momentum? But I don't think that'll be the case with England now. I don't think you'll be able to select the starting 11 every game. I think it's determined on the opposition. So that keeps every player motivated and focused, and that can only be a benefit as you go through the stages of the competition.
Well, we talk about the depth all day for England. Is there any players that come to mind that you think over the next 6 months will vault themselves into maybe a more prominent role with the English national team, or come onto the scene that haven't been on the scene yet?
Yeah, I think Mark Gui is in the squad now. I think he's come in and he's held himself. Tomorrow, Fikayo, who's obviously at AC Milan. If he's performing in the Champions League, you expect him to be knocking on the door of the centre back position. So them two players you would hope or expect to be involved if their progression continues. Potentially Jacob Ramsey, Aston Villa is someone I've worked with and admire as a professional as well. But it's a huge talent. I'm sure working with Steven Gerrard, he's going to pick up some advantages to his game. But again, it's hard. It's so early to say.
I was going to say Bellingham maybe is a player.
Yeah. Listen, Jude, exceptional talent. But would that be a surprise if he was to play every game? Would be surprised if he was the guy? Like you don't expect it to happen, but he's an exceptional talent. So I just wouldn't be surprised if he was the star man.
Now, talk to us about being in a tournament with the Three Lions. Obviously, there's an incredible amount of pressure from the media and from the fans to win every single tournament that you're in. Now, you had a chance and were unfortunate to get injured before the 2010 World Cup to represent your country at that level. But in 2012, you played and scored against France in the opening game of the 2012 Euros. You guys ended up losing penalties to Italy along the way. But what kind of advice maybe would you give to this current group, especially given the fact that you've just been coaching the U21s for England, where you're trying to qualify for those U21 Euros the following summer? I mean, all that experience that you've learned, what would you say to this particular group of players as they walk into this tournament, knowing what you know?
Yeah, it'd be difficult for me to pass it on. This group of players have got to semi-finals and finals of major competitions. So in terms of that, you know, as players, you tend to look back at previous experience and say, if it's painful, I don't want to feel that again. You know what I mean? And use that as motivation. So I'm sure the players will be ready for that. But what Gareth has created is a unity within the squad that I haven't seen before. I think there's a collective support. And whether it's purposely done, but I think the fact that there's so many variety of teams that represent England now, I think that helps the camaraderie within the group and also the fan base, which has galvanized performances in previous competitions. But yeah, just remembering previous results, performances, and what that felt like when you win and what you lose, and then just using that as motivation.
When you look at you, and this is more of a personal anecdote question, looking at your role now with the U21s, how different of a challenge is it at the national team level to be monitoring players, developing players, and then as it comes together, and obviously the four of us all played at the national team level, but now turning that into, you know, you talked about it with the US team saying, yeah, you've got better individuals, but maybe not a better team. I mean, how difficult is that to build a team now? You're working with the U21s, and now what you're seeing, you know, going back to 2018 with this England national team and how they've sort of come together, started to sort of block out all of the noise, you know, putting it together a good team. I mean, how different is that at the national team level than it is at the club level?
No, yeah, I think it's more difficult at our level in the national team in terms of 21s, because in the greatest respect, if we go on to win the Euros next year, it'll be a massive achievement, but the goal is for England to win the World Cup, England to win the Euros at senior level. So listen, our job is to develop players for the senior team. We know that. So we're aware that we may lose players, and that's not a bad thing. Like, if we can develop them and push them forward, then all for it. But I think when you're in a first team or the senior team, your objective is to win the tournament or the competition that you're in. So I think it's slightly different motivations, and like I said, you all have to be pulling in the same direction. Where for us now, we're debating whether we go with the best individuals to enhance their performance and their reputation, or do we go with the best team in order to maximize the potential of the group? It's a hard decision because we're in the development phase of football. But listen, when you're in the senior level, it's all about winning and results.
Before we were rudely interrupted by Jimmy,
I mean, what? I just wanted to get more in depth on the center back position.
After Declan Rice, which you said he's certified starter, do you think now that Phillips with his move to Manchester City is the other partner, or is there someone else? And then what does the front three look like? I know Harry Kane has got to be cemented.
Harry Kane. Listen, he's proven. So he plays. I think Raheem Sterling is another one. Between Mason Mount, Phil Foden, Calvin Phillips, and again, I think with Calvin potentially going to Man City, I don't know if it's finalised yet. So, but it looks imminent. Hopefully, that's the case. How does that look? And then we've touched on Jude. I think there's so many factors, so many different playing styles within them players. I don't think anyone will be going there thinking they're going to start every game. I think there's probably 4 players. Even the centre backs, all the centre backs I mentioned then, I don't think they'll be thinking they'll play every game, every minute of every game. I think Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling probably think that, rightly so. But again, any other player, I think he's going there with the realization of I'm going to have to play some part. How much that is determined down to the manager.